Hello everyone, today I'm looking at Pokemon Snap. This was a game I definitely did try back in the day when the N64 had come out, but I never fully beat it, and so coming back to this game I actually finally decided to see what the full experience was like. It was really interesting. I understand how this game is very comfy, very fun, very nostalgic, but also a little bit frustrating in a certain way. Um, you have your basic mechanics where you aim, you zoom, you press A to take pictures. Later on, you unlock things like throwable fruit and throwable disruptor balls, and also a Pokeflute, which has a bunch of different applications and things that change things in the environment, including one of my favorite things is that you can get a speed booster later in the game, so you can go through the levels just faster. And so it works pretty much. I don't know how you'd think Pokemon Snap works. You take a picture of a Pokemon and it adds it to kind of a Pokedex. What's really interesting though is that it does grade you on each photo, so it gives you a series of points, whether or not the Pokemon is in the center of the shot, whether or not they're doing a special animation, whether or not there's multiple Pokemon, whether or not the background and the distance to them, that they're in the full frame, so to speak. So all those things add to points. And what's really interesting is that regardless of the quality of the shot, if you like it or not, if the game thinks you took a better shot, it'll automatically replace it. And I would say 99 out of 100 times, it always chose the better shot to replace my old photo with. So I'm actually very grateful that the system, in this series of the game that was first innovated on, works really, really well. I was kind of very just surprised and shocked how well it did work. And so, you go through the levels and you unlock more. There's, the beach, the mines, the valley, the stream, whatever, and the forest. And you're basically on rails and you're going at a set speed and you just have to hold Z and then press A to take photos. And so you find out certain mechanics. Certain Pokemon will only come out when you throw fruit. Certain Pokemon, if you throw certain things at them, if you throw the fruit at them, they'll have a special animation, and maybe you'll get more points for that. Some Pokemon, they need to be, you need to do something special in the environment, like take a picture of something specific, or throw fruit at something specific, or throw a disruptor ball to create something in the environment to affect it. And aside from that, there are also little kind of Easter eggs in the environments themselves that allow you to go to the next mission. For example, there are a few switches where you need to be able to almost lure the Pokemon to the switch so they step on it, which activates the next level or the next area. And then usually on that level, you'll just have to get a certain amount of points or a certain amount of new Pokemon species in your catalog that will allow Professor Oak to give you the next area. So yeah, you are playing as a this honestly red-haired Pokemon guy, basically. And that's kind of just the character you're stuck with, but you name your own character. There's no, sex or gender selection. And you just work for Professor Oak just taking pictures. That's the story. So it's really no story. Pokemon Snap is Pokemon Snap. The one thing that I guess really did surprise me and interest me was the ending of this game, because as I said, everyone kind of played this game back in the day, kind of enjoyed it. Oh, that's a cool little thing. And I really do miss that era of gaming where it's like, hey, this is Pokemon, but it's all pictures. And it's not supposed to be a game you really beat. It's something you're supposed to experience, but if you happen to own it, then you beat it. But again, I really like these games where if you play it for an hour or even less than that, 20 minutes, you kind of get the full experience of what this game is going for. And it's only if you want more of that thing that you actually buy the game. But if you tried Pokemon Snap, you've pretty much got the whole experience. It's not really new or nuanced in any way. Other examples of things in the environment are things like the 3 legendary birds. When you first encounter the first one, it's Moltres in the volcano area, and it's a giant egg that's literally on your path, and so you have to dislodge it in order to awaken Moltres. So that teaches you what's inside these giant egg things. Another one is you can use the Poke Flute to make Pikachu uses electricity in the second level to summon Zapdos from its egg. And then I believe Articuno, you play the Poke Flute while you're going through the underground tunnels. And so there's all these other really cool hidden things in the level. So it's not just on rails. There's technically different paths or to different levels you can unlock. When you do certain things going by certain Pokemon, they have certain actions. Also, I found the camera was appropriately frustrating to use because when you're moving it, you're never quite aligned with the Pokemon perfectly. And so when you're aligned perfectly, it'll make a little sound and it'll have a red dot, which means that it's the best possible shot. So you might see a certain Pokemon, you'll take 10 shots of it and none of them were centered. And also when you take a center shot, that Pokemon's name will pop up showing that, oh, you really did get it. And it's really kind of a fun experience because all the amount of ways that you can essentially interact with the Pokemon or say, oh wait, what if I do this? And because it's a very short, maybe 5-minute level, you can always experiment a lot more with how you interact with the environment. So, oh, wait a second, I hit that character and it did this, but what if I did this when this other character was doing this? And so there's all these different things that you can do and all these different mechanics that encourage experimentation. And just because you miss one certain Pokemon, you can always go back and replay that 5-minute level and, oh, what if I tried this one thing differently? Another thing that also really interested me or that I found really cool was again, hidden characters, poses, stuff like that, and just the general attitude that you just should experiment. And the really cool thing though that I really did enjoy is that even if you start the level, take a picture of one Pokemon that you wanted to get, and you quit, then you actually get to save that photo. So even you don't even have to play the whole level if you got the photo that you really wanted. And I found that to be really cool. But of course, you're always encouraged to get more points every time you take a picture of a Pokemon you've already taken a photo of. So yeah, the ending of the game is pretty interesting because this game is definitely not hard in any capacity. It's very comfy, very relaxing, very just kind of enjoyable. But the final boss of the game is a really cool sequence where you go to this, I think it's called like the Rainbow Sky or Rainbow Road, and it's a kind of interesting experience where you're in just one environment in space basically with all the constellations of Pokemon, and Mew appears. And it's really interesting that when you zoom in to take a picture of Mew, you can't take a picture of it. It'll be all blurred and whatever. And so what you have to do is you have to use your apples and your balls essentially to shoot them at Mew to dislodge its shield, so that after I think 6 attacks it'll be dislodged, and then you can take a picture of it before it gets back into its energy ball or whatever. And that's certainly the final boss. And I find it really funny that even if you do that, or once you do that rather, then the credits of the game roll and he says, wow, you found the legendary Mew Pokemon, like congratulations, like you won. And then after that, if you replay that same level, he doesn't have the same message, you just keep playing the game. So I don't know, I found it to be a lot more fun than I anticipated. It was a really cool and fun experience. And I don't know if I'd necessarily recommend it. If you played it back in the day, you played it. But does Pokemon Snap still hold up? I would say, yeah, more or less. I wasn't really crazy about it, honestly, at first. But it's because it's a bit, I don't know, clunky with the aiming. But more or less, overall, I feel it's a pretty good, a pretty good game, a pretty good experience. And yeah, the nostalgic definitely doesn't stop it from being a pretty decent game. But again, it's nothing super amazing at the end of the day. But it is a very particular and certain vibe that still persists to today. Yeah. I remember this crazy things happening. Like there's a Zubat holding a Pikachu, and if you shoot with you manage to hit it with an apple, then Pikachu will go into this mode with balloons, and it'll be flying through the sky, finding all the legendary birds, just messing around with the environment until you figure out all these other things. There's even one not mini game, but the final requirement for the final level and final boss is that there's 6 hidden Pokemon structures in the world that are inanimate objects like mountains and hillsides that resemble real Pokemon creatures, and that's what you have to do to lock the final boss. I found it funny though that I think the hardest one out of all of those, because usually they're very, very obvious. The hardest one out of all of those was the beginning of the volcano level. To get the coughing, you had to shoot a disruptor ball into the starting volcano, and I already thought the clouds looked like the symbol that I was going for, but it doesn't actually count until you shoot a bunch of balls in there, and then it suddenly takes on the appearance that you need, even though to me it didn't really change all that much. But I digress. But yeah, it's a classic, comfy game, and I'd say it still more or less holds up. And it was fun to beat it. So yeah, that's it. I'll see you guys later. Bye.